Happy New Year and welcome back to another writing vlog. Let's cue the intro. Yay! Hi besties, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, I'm Brielle, aspiring indie author, writer, YouTuber. For the past 3 months, I've been experiencing a jobless era. I left my corporate 9-to-5 back in late September to fully experience essentially working for myself for a few months. I had just moved from LA to Seattle and as a result had to give up my previous job. They were not going to let me go remote. And so I made a decision that instead of having a job lined up ahead of time or immediately transitioning from one job to the next, I decided that I was going to take a little bit of time to experience essentially working for myself, focus on YouTube and writing, and really treat that like it was my full-time job, which if you don't know me and my journey, that is my ultimate goal. Ultimately, I do not want to be working a 9-to-5. I don't want to have any sort of job for someone else. I want to work for myself. And so I saw this opportunity and I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to see what this is like for a couple months. Back when I first made that transition, back in October, I filmed a video called A Week in My Life as a writer after leaving my full-time job, where I talked all about that transition. You guys seem to really like Jobless Brielle because to this date, that is my most successful video. And I've gotten so many messages and DMs of people being like, I really hope that you actually don't have to go back to work. I hope you can just keep doing this full time. And listen, I'm in the same boat. I would love to keep doing this full time forever. I wanted to create kind of a 3-month later update. What does a week in my life look like now? How has that changed? How am I planning my time now? And a little bit of a glimpse at kind of what's next. I've gotten, a fair few questions. Are you job hunting? When do you think you'll have to go back to work? Like, what's your whole approach to when you're going to return to working, if you are returning to working? Because I've already been in this jobless era much longer than I foresaw. And that's due to a few reasons that we'll talk about later in this video. But yeah, I was not expecting to be in this jobless era for over 3 months. Like, what a privilege, honestly. I feel so lucky. And so I'm going to give you guys updates on that. Life update, I guess. So I got back from the East Coast a few days ago. I was home for the holidays. Even though I intended to write when I was home for the holidays, I ended up doing like 0 writing. I had a critique that I had to work on and I had a video to edit. And by the time I would have potentially gotten back into writing, the thought of trying to write for the first time in weeks in such a different environment than my usual just sounded so unappealing for some reason. So no writing took place, like 0. But I have been trying to get back into it since getting back. If you are completely new to the channel and you don't know what I'm working on what's going to be my debut indie published novel. It's called Unraveling. It's a new adult fantasy. I'm currently somewhere in the middle of draft 2. I feel like I'm in that phase of the process where like trying to convey my progress is really difficult because I feel like I've been saying I'm like somewhere in the middle of draft 2 for a really long time, but I've officially surpassed the midpoint and I'm entering into Act 2, Part 2 with draft 2 revisions. And I've been feeling really good about how revising is going at this time. Some chapters are slower than others, some days are slower than others, but overall I feel really equipped and capable of this revision, which has been really nice. Sorry that the background is a little weird. Normally I'd have the lamp where the Christmas tree is, but the Christmas tree is still there. So clearly I can't do that. Today is Monday. I think the first thing that we're going to do is have a planning session. One of my goals for this year is to be better about planning, prioritizing, be more organized. And so I want to start implementing beginning of the week planning sessions. And this is also a great chance for me to show you guys how I've been structuring my weeks because I do have a new weekly plan template that I've been using. In the first video that I made, I was theming my days. I'm not doing that anymore. This is the new system that I've been using. So I'll show you guys kind of what that looks like. And I've really been liking that structure. I find it super helpful. I think we're going to make a little matcha because I haven't had a matcha yet today and it's already afternoon. I've been filming all morning just to get like the B-roll that you've seen so far. Filming takes forever. So it is in fact afternoon and I have still not had my matcha. So I think we're going to go make that. I'm so overdue for a hair appointment. Like my hair is it's giving nothing right now. And I'm sorry about that. And it's also just like not smooth. I don't know. I don't know. Those are the vibes for this vlog. I hope you guys are excited for it. I'm obsessed with the very aggressive overhead angles today. I don't know, there's something about it that's just very visually satisfying to me. So you might be seeing a lot more high angles. Also, I clipped up the hair because it was driving me crazy. We're gonna get to planning for the week. Like I said in the intro, planning more is a resolution of mine for the new year. I wanna just feel more organized, more clear on what my priorities need to be. And so that is going to be a big part of how I stay sane this year because my mind is often running even when I don't want it to be. Like if I go for a walk that's meant to just be like peaceful decompressing time, I can be spiraling about what I need to do the next few days or that task that didn't get done or my next video idea. And some of that is fine. But I think if I was better about like brain dumping, actually planning, I would spend a little less time spiraling in my head, which is a great thing. So anyway, I'm going to be using this gorgeous new physical planner. This is a gift from my mom. It is in fact customized with my initials, a BJC. If you don't know, my full name is briellejcruz. This is kind of a random note, but I put my last name in my Instagram bio because knowing that I'm going to be self-pubbing in about a year, I realized that I don't really use my last name anywhere in my online presence, but I want it to be my author name, briellejcruz. So I'm going to have to start like acquainting people with that. Eventually I'll probably change my YouTube name, which will be a very sad end of the era, but a thing that you kind of have to think about if you're going to publish is getting people used to your author name and like using it. That was so random, but I did get this gorgeous new planner. It has birds, it has flowers. I'm obsessed with it. It's from Papier. I will have it linked in the description in case you are equally obsessed with it. But this is going to be for daily and monthly planning, which I'm really excited about. This is a daily planner, but it also has monthly spreads that I'm going to be using to keep track of all deadlines that I have for the month. If I have sponsorships due, if I have critiques, blocking that out in my calendar, and also just like more personal dates, birthdays and social plans, live streams I have coming up. And so all of that's going to go in the paper planner. And today I want to do sort of a preliminary setup for Q1. So January, February, and March, I want to like kind of set up in this planner. And then I'm going to use my weekly planning template for obviously planning my week. And I'll show you guys how I'm balancing multiple priorities. I also have a launch happening this week, which is very exciting. So obviously I have to plan for that. I have my matcha all the way over, like very far away on the couch in like a little plastic tray that I use whenever I'm holding drinks on the couch because I don't have a coffee table. And I may or may not have had a little bit of a snafu earlier with getting taco sauce on the couch. We're not going to talk about it. It was a very sad moment. So I'm like hyper nervous now, but hopefully I won't spill this matcha. Let's give it a taste test. Love it. I've grown to prefer the matchas that I make at home over matchas that I get at coffee shops. There's just less room for error. Like I'm doing the process, it's going to turn out the same every time. Coffee shops, sometimes they put in the wrong type of milk. Sometimes the matcha powder is too sweet. Like there's all these factors. And I still like the experience of like going out for a drink, like a coffee or a matcha, but I prefer the ones I make at home now. Like that's kind of crazy. I never would have seen that coming. That and another plot twist that I never would have seen coming. I prefer writing at home now over writing at a cafe. I used to talk about how my favorite place to write was outside of the house at a cafe. Hated writing at my desk. I was struggling a lot in the past with associating my desk too heavily with my 9 to 5. And so I was spending so many hours at my desk working that the thought of going to it for writing was so unappealing. I've created enough distance between me and my corporate life of the past that I no longer associate my desk and my workspace with working for someone else. I associate it with writing and creativity. That feels kind of sweet. I don't know. Anyway. I'm honestly obsessed with holding the mini mic. I'm a talking with my hands girly, and I felt like when it was clipped on me, I was so nervous about hitting it that I was just like not being animated enough. And now I feel like I can like talk with my hands again. I don't know. It makes me feel more relaxed and comfortable to have something to do with my hands. I don't know. I really like it. I want to show you guys my 2025 vision boards real quick while we're talking about like planning and all of that. I actually had a vision boarding party with two of my new Seattle friends that are also in my Seattle writing group, Holly and Jessica. Hi guys, if you're watching. I ended up doing two vision boards, one for personal stuff and one for like career stuff. First, we have the personal vision board, which is honestly my favorite, surprisingly. I have some swimming photos on here. A Hatch alarm clock. I really want to get a Hatch alarm clock this year. Some just like cutesy motivation, yoga, running, a picnic, lots of lake stuff. One of my goals for this year's vision board was to make it feel more me and closer to my life so that it's a merging between my goals and myself. And so I wanted to include pictures of me or pictures that I've taken so that when I look at this, I don't see it and see some impossible, perfect person. I see me, but with my priorities and me with the small little upgrades that I want to make, like an active version of me, a happy version of me, like all of that. So I feel really, really excited about this. I really like it. And I think it's pretty as well. The main quote says, "Universe, show me how good it gets." I also have a little picture of a girl with a camcorder because I really want to keep upping my videos this year and also just focus on romanticizing the filming process, like having fun with capturing things. I would love to actually get a camcorder this year and have more like mixed media vibes going in my vlogs. So feeling really inspired by that. And then we have the other vision board. Isn't she gorgeous? First of all, can we talk about the yoga frog happening in this upper corner? It's everything to me. So I have some like fake photoshopped analytics screenshots on here, which is something that I always do. Funny story about this actually. So I created this YouTube studio screenshot right there. And then I was like, that is way too ambitious, way too unrealistic. So I created a modified version, a more realistic, less ambitious version, and accidentally pasted the original, meaning these stats are a little crazy and bananas of me to have on here. My friends said that it was fate that I put the more ambitious numbers on there. So hopefully they're not completely out of the realm of possibilities. But I have lots of stuff about revising, filming, editing videos, working on my books. I have a little picture of this amazing library that I want to do more working in. I have a fake little PayPal balance, hopefully manifesting some sponsorships this year. I did also put a subscriber goal on here. I went with 16.4K. That number sounds a little crazy to me, but in theory, if my growth rate stays around where it has been the last few months, that's not impossible. That would be cool. It's kind of an arbitrary number, 16.4K, but I wanted to put something specific on there so that it looks like a legitimate screenshot of where I could potentially be at by the end of the year. I don't know. I guess we'll see. If you guys want to stick around for the rest of the year, you can find out with me. Hi, happy Tuesday. I ran out of daylight last night, admittedly, before I could show you my weekly plan. So we're going to talk about that and look at that today. I will have this linked down in the description if you would like to also use this. And there's also a great video explaining how it works by the creator of the template, who is an amazing creator named Dea. She makes lots of great content about self-employment. So I'll have both of those things linked down below in case you see this and you're like, yes. But even if you don't use this template, I feel like there's takeaways here. Basically, the way it works is this is how my weekly schedule looks. It's kind of like time blocking, but without putting specific times to things, if that makes any sense. You're assigning a certain chunk of time to different tasks. And this has been a game changer for me because in the past, I was very guilty of putting too much on my plate for one day because I would underestimate how long things would take me. And then I would feel guilty when I didn't get as much done as I wanted to. And so this has been a complete game changer for me because it makes me actually assign a certain amount of time to my tasks. So let's take a look at how this works. So for example, today I want to do 1 hour of writing sprints. If we go into this, I've assigned it a 1 time estimate for 1 hour and a container of writing. So basically you're putting your tasks into different categories. And I do this for lots of different aspects of my life. And I will put specific times on things that I need to do at a time. For example, I have a live stream at 4 p.m. on Wednesday, so I'll put a time on that. And then the way that the kind of containers work is down at the bottom, you have this whole little chart where you can see how many hours you're putting towards different parts of your life. And I think if you're someone who's struggling to give as much time as you want to certain things like writing, this sort of system is really helpful because, for example, I've planned 8.5 hours of writing this week. I have a goal of writing 8 hours a week, so I'm on track for that. Content creation, I have a weekly goal of 15 hours. I've scheduled 15.5 hours worth of content creation work, believe it or not. So it just lets you see where your time is actually going and schedule according to your goals. How big of a part of your week do you want different categories to be? And it's also cool because up at the top, next to the date, it'll give you the total of the tasks that you've planned for. So for example, I've planned 6 hours worth of tasks for today. That feels pretty good to me. I think I have an expectation in my head sometimes that I should be doing 8 hours of work. And I just don't want to hold myself to that because I don't think anyone should be doing 8 hours of work. Like the fact that 9 to 5s make us do 8 hours of work in a day, humans are not built for that. I typically aim for, I would say like 5 to 7 hours of work in a day. That's what feels good to me. This is another thing that I think is honestly great about getting to set my own schedule right now and that I'm so grateful for is I can adapt. I can wake up in the morning, see how I'm really feeling that day and adjust accordingly. It's something that I value so much because obviously when you're working a traditional job, you don't really have a bunch of say on how hard you're working on any specific day. It's really what's required of you that decides that. And so I feel so grateful that I can be super flexible with myself, move things around if and when I want to adjust to my natural motivation and energy levels. If I'm feeling really burnt out and exhausted, I can plan tasks that take less energy out of me. Also, obviously, all these time estimates are just that, they're estimates. For example, say I'm doing this filming task and it ends up taking me longer than an hour. It takes 1.5 hours. I'll just update the time estimate. It'll update the total on the day of the week and update everything. So I'll always go in and change things if a task takes me longer or shorter than expected. And this is nice because it means that I'm learning more and more just how long tasks actually take me. For example, if I'm continuously underestimating how long filming is going to take, I'll know going forward, okay, I need to allot more time for filming than I think I do. And again, this has been really helpful to make sure that I'm not biting off more than I can chew and that I'm being realistic about how much I can get done in a day without feeling burnt out or overwhelmed. In case you're curious, I do typically a bit of work on weekends, but it's with a much more relaxed schedule. And I'm never like, oh, I need to do work this weekend. It's more like if I feel like it. If my boyfriend wants to go to a coffee shop and get some homework done because he's in school, I'll be like, sure, I can work on stuff, you know? So I'm not planning full work days on the weekends, but I am aiming to hopefully write on the weekends and get a little bit done. So that's how my weekly planning system works. Like I said, I'll have the template and a proper tutorial link down below. But basically, I'm sort of doing time blocking. I am estimating the time each task is going to take me and planning my days in those sorts of blocks. It's basically like a to-do list, but with assigned times and categories. Now, as far as today goes, I have writing group tonight at 5 p.m. And in about half an hour, I'm going to be FaceTiming Caitlin, the wonderful Caitlin Rochelle Writes, and doing some writing sprints together. So that'll be really fun. We're going to get ready for that. And yeah, get some words in. Okay, bye. Say hi. Hi. On today's episode of my name never being spelt right, we have Brielle. It's fine. It's just funny. Happy Thursday. We're about to make a little matcha. You're all shocked, I know. And I guess we'll see if I'm enough of a pro to do this without using both hands. And if not, I'll clip you on my shirt and it'll be fine. I wore this headband and sweatshirt combo on a live stream yesterday, and Amina told me I looked like a cheetah girl. So ever since hearing that, I'm obsessed with this combo and will be wearing it a lot, especially since we've already discussed the hair situation right now. So happy Thursday. I didn't end up vlogging yesterday. I ended up kind of moving things around a bit in my schedule, which we love flexibility. We love adapting to what's happening. But I was planning to launch my Patreon yesterday, but then I realized I actually wanted to film an intro video where I basically just introduce the page, tell people what they can expect if they choose to join. And so I realized I wanted to film that just to include on the Patreon page as like a bit of a hi, welcome. Here's what you'll get if you join. Yeah, since I need to film that and I want to get it up before I launch the Patreon, hopefully I'll get that filmed really quickly today. It shouldn't take long at all, but I want to do that and then maybe potentially launch the Patreon like tomorrow or this weekend. And that's fine. Like I have not set a specific date to anyone. I haven't talked about it really publicly besides like some little hints here and there. So we're just adapting. So I ended up spending most of yesterday working on editing, video editing, specifically this vlog, a little bit meta to be talking about this, but yes, I ended up spending about 4 hours on that yesterday and I made the thumbnail. So it ended up becoming a very YouTube focused day, which is honestly exactly what I was craving. I was watching a Katie Wismer vlog recently and she's been self-employed for years. One of the things she was talking about was how she's learned in the past few years to pay attention to what she feels and like be intuitive. If she doesn't feel like doing a task on a specific day, moving around her schedule to accommodate that feeling. And obviously, you know, if you have a deadline or something, like that's not always possible, but when possible, I would like to take that approach of like, okay, if I was planning to film today, but I'm really just not feeling it, let me adapt. If I was planning to work on a certain task and then I realize I'd rather do that at a different day. Like I have enough different aspects of my work right now where I can really respond in that way. I think leaning into that will help me avoid burnout. So anyway, had a great productive editing day yesterday. I did get a few words in, nothing crazy, like 600, I think. I had a live stream last night and then I had such a good writing day on Tuesday. I wrote for multiple hours because I had my writing group. As you guys saw, I did some live writing sprints with Caitlin. So I got through over 2,000 words on Tuesday and that really helped me catch up to where I needed to be in terms of like the pace in order to hit my trackbear goal, which if you don't know, I currently have a trackbear leaderboard going on where you can essentially choose a goal for yourself and then like track your progress, see other people's progress. I'll have the join code down below. It's not an app, to clarify. It is something you need to go to in your browser, but the website is called trackbear.app, I'm pretty sure. We're doing a January one right now. And if you guys like it enough, we'll keep them going. Like I'm happy to make one every month. And they don't need to just be word count goals either. You can set time goals, chapter goals, which I really like because sometimes word count is not people's favorite metric and that's fine. If you want to focus more on making writing a habit, you can track your time, you know? Once this matcha is done, we're going to sit down and have the conversation. I want to talk about job hunting, where I'm going from here, what's been up in that category, and kind of a little bit of reflecting, though I do want to save most of my reflections for a dedicated video. Let's finish making this matcha. It's looking pretty dark. Needs some oat milk. You want to say hi to the people, Smog? You know, he seemed to have some fans the first time I showed him off, so here's your Smog fix. How beautiful is he? Oh, he said, I'm done. Okay. Don't let me hold you. You have your rights. I should probably put you back in your tank, though, before you poop on our floor. No, I'll let him run around. He was trying to break out of his tank earlier, so I think he's great. Oh, right over my computer. He literally just stopped my audio recording. You can't make this up. So it is time for us to have the chat. Let's talk about what's happening on the job hunting front. When I first made the original Week in My Life after leaving my full-time job video, I was like, yeah, I'm going to be applying for jobs like a lot and then just like also working on my stuff. Like I'm going to be doing both. And that was very much, you know, what I was saying. And then I proceeded to not apply to a single job. Like literally, I have yet to send a single job application. And if we try to dissect why that is, I think the thing it ultimately comes down to is it's very hard to motivate yourself to apply to jobs, which is already a very difficult process when you don't want a job. Like obviously, yeah, I just didn't want a job. I wanted to keep writing, making videos, living my best little life. And so I had little to no motivation to work on job applications when I knew I didn't want to be working. Like it felt like so misaligned with what I wanted. So I didn't send a single job application. I brushed up my resume. I worked on it one time and then I did nothing else with it. And that's why this fun employment era has stretched on a lot longer than I anticipated. And I always find it funny how, authortube friends and stuff have asked me, how's the job hunting going? And I'm like, it's not going. Like nothing has happened. Now, when I first kind of stopped working, I pictured a brief hiatus from working, followed by me getting another 9-to-5 job, probably in marketing, holding that job for 6 months to a year, and then quitting that job to once again, hopefully with actual stability, pursue this full time. That was what I was originally picturing. Now that looks different. I'm staying really open-minded when I do go into the job search, which I am planning to actually start looking and searching at some point in the next month or two. I'm going in really open-minded. I'm gonna look at full-time positions, but what I'm really looking for now is a part-time role. That is strongly what I would prefer if the perfect, very well-paying, very cushy full-time job showed up on my Indeed. Yeah, I'll apply, but I would really prefer a part-time job at this point because I just don't think that I could handle working full-time again with also trying to run and scale this business, because I know if I pulled back the amount of hours that I was spending on the business drastically, I would lose a lot of the momentum that I've been building the last few months. Like if I went into a full-time job, there is no shot that I would be able to do more than like one critique a month, unless I completely drop the ball on YouTube and on writing. I would be making a lot slower progress, I'm sure, with writing. I would have to scale back the amount that I'm uploading on YouTube, and just everything would have to be sacrificed and cut down, or I would have to do a ton of outsourcing. Like I would definitely have to outsource my video editing because there's just no shot that I could maintain everything that I've built/started. When I was originally balancing a full-time job with writing and content, it was just the full-time job, writing and making one video a week, which was still a lot, don't get me wrong, but it was more doable. Now adding Patreon to my plate, doing critiques frequently, doing sponsorships, which require prep, and trying to make more elaborate videos, because I do feel like I've stepped my videos up since leaving working, it would be impossible, frankly, with a full-time job. Things would have to give, and I don't want to sacrifice anything that I'm working on scaling. So that's why I'm looking for a part-time job. I just think it's going to be easier to balance. And also I'm trying to reframe my mindset around getting a job. Instead of viewing it as, oh, I'm just going back to work after this little vacation, essentially. Instead, I want to view it as, no, I'm still mainly focused on trying to make full-time creative work happen. And this is just a supplement. This is just a little support, a little supporting beam to help me stay afloat and be able to pay my bills while I focus on building the business. So I want the job to be very subsidiary in my life and not the priority. So that's how I'm trying to reframe it, so that I can still feel like I'm focusing on doing the thing. I want to still feel like I'm building and working towards doing this full time, because as I mentioned, that is the ultimate goal for me. And so I'm just trying to make sure that my mindset reflects that goal, and the fact that I want this to still feel like my main thing, and any job that I have is just part-time boosting my income. Income-wise, if you want more details on how my income continues to build and change, I am planning to do quarterly sort of business income reports on my Patreon page, little plug, which is live by the time you guys are watching this video, I believe. So I'll have that link down in the description if you want to check it out. But I did also make a video a few months ago talking about what my income realistically looks like, and it's stayed pretty steady, I would say, since I created that video. So it's looking like between 1 to 2K a month is going to be my average going forward. And so that is essentially, to me, like a part-time job income. So I would basically be combining 2 part-time jobs to make a full-time job, as is essentially how I'm seeing it. Half of that being my business, and then half of it being a part-time job that I'll potentially get in whatever sphere that ends up being. Like I said, I'm very open-minded to what that part-time job ends up being. One more note, I guess, on what type of job I'm looking for. I'm not quite sure if I'm going to try to look for something creative or something more cut and dry like marketing. Not that marketing isn't creative, but on the one hand, I would love to get a job that has to do with content or writing or design, something like that. But on the other hand, I also know I don't want a job that's going to take all my creative energy and then make me not want to work on editing my own videos or writing, etc., because I already used a lot of that energy at a job. And I feel like this is always the struggle with like figuring out jobs as a creative is like, do you want to get a 9 to 5 doing something creative, or do you want to save your creativity for your own projects and have a job that's a little bit more detached and separate and feels disconnected from your own creative work? I honestly don't know. Like I said, I think I'm really going to have to just see what's out there and open myself up to a variety of opportunities and see what feels right. Because I do feel like when I find the right position, I'll know. I don't know, maybe that's ambitious considering how hard job hunting is, because I do remember how difficult it is out there. But I do have a few good years of experience, including experience at a huge company that I think will help me get in the door of other places. I was working in the makeup industry in my last job, and so I'm definitely open to roles that are that industry because I did really enjoy working in it. But yeah, that's going to be a whole new adventure, learning how to balance again, because I feel like I've really just become used to this way of living and working, and I've become, frankly, a bit spoiled with the amount of flexibility, just like time that I get to spend on my life outside of work. Like it just feels like how I should be living much more than it ever did when I was working full time for someone else. It's going to be really hard for me to let that go. I want it to be as temporary as possible. Like I would love for things to keep growing and for the part-time job to be a very temporary and short-lived era, like as short as it can be before I get to the point where I'm making comfortable money to quit again. But yeah, we'll just see what happens. Like I said, I'm very open-minded. So on the off chance that I do end up getting a full-time job, that's going to be a crazy adjustment. Yeah, I'll have more reflections on this in like a future, more proper sit down video, talking all about my time of being jobless and like how things changed during that time, because I don't think it's a coincidence that me not having a job and then my YouTube channel doing the best that it's had and having my best income months, like I don't think it's a coincidence that those things happen to align, you know? Like obviously if I'm putting much more time, energy, love, effort into something, it's gonna grow better and it's gonna grow faster, which is also a reason why I'm so hesitant to give up some of that time, because I know if I keep putting time and love and energy into the business, it will benefit it. Like it will grow. Like I have a lot of faith in that. So it's just hard to feel like the necessity of supporting myself and wanting to not feel financially like frazzled or stressed is making me give up dedication to my passion. But, you know, it's a line we all have to toe, right? Like comfortability, stability, financial support versus spending time on the things that we really want to be spending time with. Anyway, that got a little bit deep. That's what's happening. So I am potentially going to actually start applying for jobs in the next couple months. Obviously, the job search process does not happen overnight. I doubt I'll be coming into my next vlog like, hey guys, I have a job now. I know it's going to take some time and I need to start prioritizing it, but I'm still just so resistant. And there is this small part of me that's just like, Brielle, just hang on a couple more months. Like maybe it'll happen. Maybe it'll go through for you. Maybe you won't need a job. Like I just gotta be honest that is a thought. I think I'm gonna actually wrap this video up here. I know we only made it to Thursday, but I have a feeling this video is already very long and I would love to get it out soon because I think it's been almost 2 weeks since I posted. So stay tuned for another vlog soon. I also want to film my making money as a creative Q&A that I already asked you guys for questions for. So that'll be coming up soon. If you made it all the way to the end of the video, comment down below a briefcase emoji since we talked about jobs. Really fun. Patreon will be linked down below if you want to join me over there. I'm literally going to film the intro video for that right after I wrap up this one. And if you want to check out my critique services, if you have a book that's going to be ready for developmental feedback in 2025, I am accepting bookings now. I do have some slots left in February if you want to get in my calendar. I do also accept bookings far in advance. So if you have a project that's going to be ready in like the summer or the fall, feel free to check that out. Link is in the description. Would love to work with you and read your projects. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Happy writing.